For Kelly Fitzgibbons, life in the quiet village of Woodmancote seemed perfect. At 40 years old, she was living with her partner Robert and their 2 beautiful daughters in a lovely detached home in West Sussex. 4-year-old Ava was energetic and angelic, telling anyone who'd listen that she wanted to be a princess when she grew up. 2-year-old Lexi was cheeky and mischievous, with the signature Fitzgibbons curly hair that matched her mother's. Kelly worked as a part-time legal secretary and spoke to her identical twin sister Emma every single day. Her Facebook bio said simply, "Totally in love with my baby girls." To the outside world, they were a happy, loving family. Kelly's social media showed smiling faces, family days out, and precious moments with her girls. But behind those perfect posts lay a darker reality that Kelly never shared with anyone, not even her twin sister. On 29th March 2020, as Britain entered its first COVID lockdown, that reality would explode in the most unthinkable way. In a single night of violence, this loving family would be destroyed by the very man who was supposed to protect them. Kelly Fitzgibbons was born on December 30th, 1979, at St. Richard's Hospital, Chichester, just 7 minutes after her identical twin sister Emma. The twins grew up in Heatherclose, West Ashling, enjoying what Emma later described as an idyllic and happy childhood. They attended Funtington Primary School and Bourne Community College together, making up dance routines and performing plays for their family. A 1996 home video shows the inseparable twins dancing to the Spice Girls' Wannabe. Kelly had longed for children for years, and when Ava and Lexi arrived, they became her whole world. She was described universally as kind, caring, funny, and always smiling. Emma said Kelly was the person who made her laugh most. Her family said she was the heart of everything they did. Robert James Needham was 42 years old, a self-employed builder who ran R.J. Needham Building Services from Duffield Lane, Emsworth. Those who knew him described a quiet, thoughtful man who was always there to help when needed. His family called him a quiet and thoughtful son and brother. Ava was said to be a real daddy's girl. The couple had been together for over a decade and lived at Duffield Lane in Woodmancote with Robert's 77-year-old mother, Maureen, who owned the property. Robert, Kelly, and the girls lived rent-free in their section of the house, whilst Robert worked on building an extension for the family. The house, valued between £500,000 and £600,000, had previously been used as a care home run by the family. They seemed to be doing well financially. Just 25 days before the tragedy, on 4th March 2020, they had purchased their second buy-to-let investment property. They had restructured their mortgages so that rental income from their first property covered both. To everyone who knew them, they appeared to be a happy and loving couple planning for the future. But appearances can be deceiving. What emerged later would paint a very different picture of life behind closed doors. Robert's building company had been dissolved in October 2019, 5 months before the killings, leaving him as what one witness described as an out-of-work builder. Financial pressures were mounting. The couple had borrowed approximately £20,000 from Maureen. Kelly had £3,000 in credit card debt. Robert owed £14,000 on a bank loan. Text messages examined during the subsequent investigation revealed troubling dynamics in the relationship. Kelly's messages showed that Robert was prone to anger and shouting. In one exchange, Kelly asked him to be civil in front of the girls. She told him she dreaded coming home. She asked him not to bang the door and shout. In another message, she said she was getting out of his way because she could see how angry he was. Robert regularly spent days away from the family, leaving Kelly to manage the young children alone. The messages painted a picture of a woman walking on eggshells around her partner's temper. Most significantly, on 5th of February 2020, Kelly sent Robert a WhatsApp message that would prove chilling in hindsight. She wrote, "I think we should have a break and see how we both feel." Robert responded, "If that's how you really feel." The couple reportedly agreed to a trial separation to try to repair their relationship. But Kelly never told anyone about these problems. Her identical twin Emma later said, "Kelly had never told me Rob was violent towards her and the girls in any way. I thought life was good." This silence would prove to be tragically significant. Kelly was suffering alone, maintaining the myth of a perfect family life, whilst privately enduring what experts would later recognize as signs of emotional abuse and coercive control. Behind his quiet exterior, Robert Needham was struggling with demons of his own. He had been treated for depression as a teenager in the 1990s and again in 2003. He had visited his GP in 2013, complaining of work-related stress, and had a documented history of suicidal thoughts. Perhaps most concerning was his long-term cocaine habit. In 2017 to 2018, he had sought medical attention for nose pain, telling Kelly it was caused by dust and debris from his building work. An ENT consultant concluded it was actually caused by cocaine damage to his nasal passages. Kelly never knew the truth. Hair analysis conducted after his death would confirm cocaine use in the 3 months preceding the killings. In the days leading up to the murders, Robert had made 3 unsuccessful attempts to purchase cocaine. In 2016, Robert Needham had successfully applied for a shotgun license. In 2017, he was granted a firearms certificate. What happened during that application process would later be described as a catalogue of failures that exposed critical weaknesses in Britain's gun licensing system. When Needham applied for his shotgun certificate to Hampshire Police, he lied on the application form about several crucial details. He failed to disclose a police caution he had received at age 25 for involvement in bicycle theft. He omitted his history of depression treatment. He didn't mention his GP visit in 2013 for work-related stress. When a firearms inquiry officer visited Needham for a mandatory home interview, Needham was confronted about these omissions. He claimed his partner Kelly had filled out the form because he didn't write well, though Kelly's family later confirmed the form was clearly in Robert's handwriting. When pressed about the undisclosed police caution, Needham claimed he didn't think it was relevant because it was a long time ago. Despite discovering that Needham had lied on his application, police still granted him the license. The officer recommended sending a disclosure warning letter advising against failing to disclose information in future applications. That letter was never sent. It fell through the cracks when the case transferred from Hampshire Police to Sussex Police. In 2017, when Needham applied for a firearms certificate, his GP surgery was asked to comment on his suitability. The surgery said it did not have the capacity to respond. The license was granted anyway. By 2019, Needham had sold all of his weapons and owned none. For 9 months, he was a licensed gun owner with no guns. That would change in March 2020. On 20th March 2020, the day Britain entered its first COVID lockdown, Robert Needham walked into a registered firearms dealer and purchased a shotgun. He told the dealer he wanted it for shooting pigeons. He didn't purchase ammunition that day, but a bag of shotgun cartridges would later be found on the family's dining table. Just 9 days later, that legally purchased weapon would be used to destroy an entire family. The last weekend of March 2020 was a time of uncertainty for everyone in Britain. The country had just entered lockdown, and families everywhere were adjusting to a new reality. For the Needham family, it would be their last weekend together. 2 days before her death, on Friday 27th March, Kelly posted photos on Facebook of a family countryside walk with the caption, "Our walk for the day," accompanied by a heart emoji. The family outing was unusual. Robert rarely joined in such activities, preferring to stay home or work. The next day, the family ordered a Chinese takeaway. The delivery driver who brought it to their door would be the last person to see them alive. That evening, Robert participated in what his half-sister later described as a relaxed FaceTime call at approximately 6:20 p.m. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. The children were put to bed after the call. What nobody knew was that earlier that day, Robert had been assembling a playhouse in the garden for Ava and Lexi. He was putting together something his beautiful children would never get to play in, knowing they would never see another day. During the evening, Robert made small charitable donations to the Red Cross and shelter, behaviour that was completely out of character for him. At 11:45 p.m, he sent a friend a joke video clip about suicide, featuring a man whose wife had just killed herself as part of a suicide pact. The man in the video was laughing. Robert's mother Maureen, who lived in another section of the property, later told investigators, "Shortly after the call, I heard a loud thud or crash. Shortly after that, I heard banging. She believed the noises were the girls jumping on furniture, something that wasn't unusual in a house with young children." What Maureen didn't know was that during the night, or early that morning, Robert Needham had taken his shotgun and systematically murdered his entire family before turning the weapon on himself. It would be almost 24 hours before anyone discovered what had happened. By Sunday evening, Kelly's family was becoming concerned. She hadn't been answering her phone, and this wasn't like her. Kelly spoke to her twin sister every single day without fail. The silence was troubling. At approximately 6:45 p.m. on 29th March, Kelly's uncle, Ronald Peacock, arrived at the property after being contacted by Maureen, who was also worried about the family's welfare. When no one answered the door, he decided to investigate further. Peacock climbed through an open window into the couple's bedroom. What he found inside would haunt him forever. Both girls, Ava and Lexi, were lying side by side under the duvet in their parents' double bed, wearing their pajamas. Kelly was on the floor near the bedroom door. Robert was in the hallway with the shotgun pointed at his head. The family's Staffordshire Bull Terrier, Billy, was also dead. Peacock immediately called 999. Within minutes, the quiet village of Woodmancote was swarming with police vehicles and ambulances, but it was far too late to help. Sussex police launched a murder investigation designated Operation Cotton. The scale of the tragedy shocked even experienced officers. Detective Chief Inspector Charlotte Rimmer led the investigation into what would become one of the most thorough examinations of a domestic homicide in recent British history. Post-mortem examinations conducted on 2nd and 3rd April revealed the full horror of what had occurred. The ballistics expert who attended the scene was able to determine that 6 shots had been fired and all had hit their intended target. There was no struggle between two parties with the weapon. All the evidence suggested that Kelly was taken completely by surprise at Robert's actions. The investigation revealed crucial details about the timeline. The killings had occurred sometime after the FaceTime call on Saturday evening, but forensic evidence suggested they may have happened in the morning. What was certain was that Robert had killed his partner and children before taking his own life. The full inquest was held at Horsham Coroner's Court from 11th to 15th July 2022, presided over by Assistant Coroner Bridget Dolan QC. Police officials admitted that Robert's application for a gun licence would not have been approved under current guidelines. The coroner was scathing about the lack of scrutiny, noting there was no record of any probing of his rather limp excuses. The coroner concluded, "The only person who is responsible for the deaths of his family is Robert Needham." But she also admitted something that would haunt the family. "I'm so sorry this inquest has not been able to answer why this atrocity happened." Kelly's identical twin sister, Emma Ambler, refused to let their deaths be in vain. She established the Kelly Fitzgibbons Foundation and campaigned tirelessly for stricter gun laws. Emma met with Home Office ministers, including Jess Phillips and Dame Diana Johnson. She appeared on BBC Breakfast and ITV News multiple times, became a trustee of the Killed Women charity, and attended the House of Commons to discuss licensing changes. Her demands were clear: refuse licences to applicants who lie, deny licences to those with recurring depression, implement annual reviews instead of 5-yearly ones, and require mandatory GP reporting of health changes. Emma said, "If he hadn't got a firearms licence, it's likely our family would still be alive today." When she launched a fundraising campaign for a memorial bench seeking £800, donations reached £7,430. The bench was installed at Bosham Football Club, where the twins had spent their childhood. In August 2025, Emma's years of campaigning finally bore fruit. The Home Office announced comprehensive reforms to firearms licensing that explicitly cited Woodmancote. Policing Minister Dame Diana Johnson stated, "The events in Woodmancote in 2020, Plymouth in 2021 and other cases provide a tragic reminder of what can happen when these weapons are in the hands of the wrong people." The reforms included requiring 2 referees for shotgun applications instead of 1, making any evidence of dishonesty grounds for refusal, and mandatory interviews with partners and household members. Responding to the changes, Emma said, "I'm really pleased that the government is strengthening the current firearms licensing guidance. These changes are very welcome, and it is pleasing to finally feel listened to after 5 years of campaigning to make the system safer." Kelly Fitzgibbons was born 7 minutes after her twin sister and lived her life devoted to her daughters. 4-year-old Ava Needham wanted to be a princess when she grew up. 2-year-old Lexi Needham loved to snuggle up for cuddles and story time. They deserved so much more than the violence that ended their lives. In memory of Kelly, Ava and Lexi, may they never be forgotten.